This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages, right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. Salutations, I am Cameron, I am conversation ready. This is CT. She's cute even if you can't see her, because look at the nose. Look at that nose. What if her head was my head? Would that just be crazy? Look at what you're doing to the white balance. Isn't that nuts? That's how Iron Man 3 made her feel. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Just a boo. Just a booty. Booty, you want to run, don't you? You want to get away from me. Because I'm pretty. Okay. I do that stuff to my cat when there's no camera around. Just to be clear. It's nothing she's not used to. But again, I am Cam Ryan. We're here today to talk about things and stuff we've been watching, such as... I promised I would fix this. Iron Man 3. Honestly, I blame the movie posters, but I can do that. That works, I guess. It's just, I want to get up and come close to you. Man, okay, so... again, this is such a week for me because we did Predator over in Scary Movie Squad. Not a big Predator fan, not a big Iron Man fan. But Red State was fucking good. All right, so we can get rid of these notes. We are on to Iron Man, Tony Stank, if you will. So all of Tony Stank, we opened at an old New Year's party back in like 2009 or something like that. Back in the olden days, before Snapchat. I don't know. What was 2009? Who gives a fuck? So, like all superhero movies, Tony starts out trying to sleep with a botanist. Because why not? And of course, she's not just a botanist. That is covered later in the movie. She's still a botanist. It doesn't matter, she's other things too. But she's still a botanist. And we see this weird interaction between Tony and Killian, where you see exactly how much of a friggin' jerk he is. He's legitimately created a lot of his own villains in the comics and in the movies. Because he's a dick. He's a dick to kids. He's a dick to women. He's an alcoholic and a drug addict. Iron Man is not the hero that you want your kids to imagine themselves to be. So when you see the little kid with an Iron Man mask on going, yeah, it's not cute, it's concerning. Fuck Iron Man, he's a murderer and a creep, really. But of course, Killian's behind AIM. If you're a fan of the comics at all, you know that AIM is like a rogue group of terrorist scientists. Whenever they get into fights and stuff, they're really no competition, but they come up with cool toys and tech and stuff and situations that are a little awkward for heroes to deal with. So immediately I'm kind of enthused. We go to the present day workshop where Tony's working on a modular deployable, which is a great idea. I can't say that it's not, but it's a little weird, especially since later the suit won't fly, but all the individual pieces can fly across country without being connected to an arc reactor. Yeah. So how are things powered? Maybe they just store it up. I don't know. But it's obviously a problem. Later on in the movie, the suits that fly to him and then open up for him, that makes a lot more sense to me. But that kind of involves like the Iron Legion protocols that we see later, or the house party protocol that he invents in the middle of the movie through Jarvis just doing shit on his own. It's like, I've got to go deal with this, Jarvis, you deal with that. So let's see. And then, so we go from that to the Mandarin, which is a friggin' waste. Like, Iron Man doesn't have a lot of good villains for himself. His stuff is a lot of political nonsense. He's very much a soldier when it comes down to a lot of stuff, like Captain America used to be. But I don't know. I don't know what to do about it. It's not a good time for me. I don't know. But this is a waste to have a fake Mandarin, to have and I'm gonna spoil it right here. Have Killian like be this puppet master. Um, it's not how supervillaining works typically. This is what makes Killian like a legitimate like terrorist, that he won't put himself in the spotlight. Usually supervillains are like, and you shall fear the power of Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom's a great villain for stuff like that. Fucker went over, took over a piece of the world and was like, this is my country now. Deal with it. Oh, man. So we get to see like footage of Iron Patriot, which is a stupid idea. I get the idea behind it. Yeah, whatever. If we really had something like that, maybe. No, it's silly. The paint job does not make the robot. So over at Stark Industries, we see Killian, the same guy from the beginning of the movie, trying to go mac on Pepper because, let's face it, Pepper's got options. Tony is not a great catch, regardless of the lifestyle he provides. So if that's what you want him for, great. But like, I think Pepper gets the short end of the stick a lot. If she didn't have legitimate feelings for Tony, I think she'd be losing out by the 10-ton fold. But so Happy's all suspicious of Killian and his weird assistant guy, which is not doing any favors to try to blend in or anything like that, or be conspicuous. I know words. So Killian's trying to work for, or wants to work with Pepper. So AIM and Stark Industries working together would be kind of a powerful threat, but they don't even really get that far. It's like she listens to their pitch, goes, "Oh, that sounds like weaponry stuff, and we therefore can't be involved because Stark Industry no longer does weaponry." And he's like, "Oh, that's sad," because he really wants to do things to her. But once she gets home, or to Tony's house, because was it ever really her home? I don't know. There's like a giant rabbit out front that looks like it has boobs. Let's be honest. It's got its hands like right here, and their hands are big and bulbous, so it's like this. And honestly, it looks like it has boobs. I'm just being honest. It's also like 8 feet tall, so the proportions don't help anything once you get that big. Let's scroll up. Let's not reread the same bits of notes. So Tony's finally got to the point where he can control a single suit with brainwaves, which is interesting. And you can see him actively doing something else. He's like exercising while he's hosting her. He's like trying to like feed her food. He's giving her a massage. So you've got to imagine like it's doing this, right? Like it's individual finger movements, stuff like that. They can't even do with like real prosthetics these days, or they're having trouble doing with prosthetics. Tony Stark's been able to do with this robot that he controls with his mind. Granted, there's an interface and all that. That's not what I'm saying that he's telepathic. I'm saying pay attention. I'm saying that he's able to transform his brainwaves into commands for this robot. If you could do that, give me deep dive technology. Give me my deep dive VR experience already. Jeez. And I know that like that's actual research that we're doing in real life that's just kind of taken to its final resting place. God, poor cats and stuff, but they've been able to retrograde or design things off of animal brains for us so that they can read our brainwaves. And if they can read the brainwaves, then they can assign those readings to control signals. So if they map it enough times, they'll get a correlation that they can use to do things. So you can make prosthetics like the Iron Man suit move with human-like body motions. But of course, what's happening to Tony is this happens right after the Avengers movie, after he goes into the wormhole, so he actually literally flies into space with the nuclear missile, and his suit powers down because it's not set for zero atmosphere. So he literally, as much as he can seal it, he ends up running out of air, until then he falls back to Earth magically, mind you. So Tony still has PTSD from the thing, and he realizes that like he's such a tiny, insignificant piece of shit because his whole life he's been this huge thing. He's been this fucking brain. Hey, Red. He's been this brain that thinks that he's so much better than everything else. So of course, like having literal gods and monsters and aliens around him should put him in his place, and I'm glad something did, because maybe by the time we get around to an Iron Man 4, like he'll be an actual human being instead of this egotistical monster that is Tony Stark. But of course, looking at Homecoming, that's probably not going to be the case, because technically Homecoming was Iron Man 4. Like, they really mislabel some of these movies. Civil War was Winter Soldier 2, and Homecoming was Iron Man 4 as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to use that from now on. I should do Homecoming for this. Maybe that's what we will do after Hulk. Where are we at? So because Happy's happy and he can't be satisfied in this world that he doesn't understand, so he has to go back to things he does understand, like old-timey sleuthing and whatever, and he's actually pretty good at it. Like, once you get him away from the technology, Happy does his job well. So he manages to track down the doofus from the waiting room and meet what he thinks is a drug exchange, but it's actually the bioengineered tool. I don't know what it is, because it's an accident when these guys blow up. Now sometimes it's done on purpose. Maybe they're fed the wrong components or whatever. But typically it's an accident when like the material goes critical inside the human body and then an explosion happens. So I don't know what to call the stuff itself, but Happy actually gets the evidence and everything, but he gets confronted and fights and gets blown up. So he's just out of his league. I feel bad for Happy a lot of the time, but maybe he got with that nurse by the end of the movie, because she had it going on. Happy looked happy. He looked a little beat up, but she was into Downton Abbey. He's into Downton Abbey. I mean, I realize it's a popular show, but sometimes you got to roll with something that you got in common with people. Let's see. So fuck this drug exchange. It really wasn't even that interesting. More Mandarin crap, because it's set up. Oh, look, it's Trevor. There's no punchline to it ever. Like, we don't, like, him shooting one guy is nothing compared to him blowing up shit all over the world. Imagine he's ISIS. Imagine he's the Taliban, like, via 9/11. Like, that whole group. That's who the Mandarin is supposed to represent in these movies. So it is a little ridiculous, but it is what it is. So for some reason, no, okay, so yeah, after Happy gets hurt, that's why he gets into it. Because Tony doesn't care about things unless it directly affects him. Because that's what kind of egomaniacal fiend he is. He starts, he gets mad about the Mandarin. He gives out his home address and he starts trying to Sherlock Holmes out, like, what's happening with the things. And so, because he's Tony Stark and not Sherlock Holmes in this movie, he uses technology to do the same things that Sherlock Holmes did, like, in real life scenes. And, like, he's like, what are you showing me, Happy? And Happy's, like, pointing towards whatever, because he believes in the tech that his boss does. So, of course, he figures that out, and he ends up getting enough evidence to have a lead. So when he comes across more evidence later, he knows where to take it. But someone rings the friggin' doorbell, which is amazing. It's amazing that Pepper is even still there. It's amazing that someone can get close enough to the door to ring the bell, which is what I think he's upset about. So he goes to answer it in his Iron Man suit, to a very convincing, "You're not the Mandarin," because I think she's let herself in at that point. Like, so, but the point is that, like, by the time that conversation happens, she's in the middle of the house. And the funny bit too is that she wouldn't have even noticed. I'm sorry, they wouldn't even notice the missiles until they hit if she didn't point something out, because that gave them the barest edge of a hint that they were about to get blown the hell up. And I did think it was funny that Tony built in commands to be able to throw the suit onto another person, let alone that it's coded, because some of them are coded, for Rhodes or Pepper or anybody really, and that Pepper knows how to use it. So I'm wondering if, like, they had a couple training sessions where it's no, because then she wouldn't be as upset about the suit. She has a line later, she's like, "Now I know why you don't want to give up the suits, because this is how this feels," essentially. So that type of thing, like that fact that she had the suit on, and then that she knows that how the repulsors work, kind of, but then she can't do it. Like, that was weird. But she managed to get Maya out of the building, which was what the important part was. But there's this funny little bit that, like, she's got to rescue the ex-girlfriend. But of course she got the impervious suit, while Tony stands in a building that's under fire. And then there's that inevitable argument between the two. I don't know why that's the running joke of the movies, where it's like, "I need you to go do this, but I need you to go do this." I think it's supposed to be like a nagging wife joke, but the situations that it happens in are always like a superhero origin. So it just makes it that much more ridiculous. Let's see. And then Tony gets the armor, and it's not combat ready. Like, I don't understand that at all. That it's a draft of a suit that he did, because, like, he's done that before, and it's been combat ready, or it's been effective ready, whatever you want to call it. Or why he couldn't go to the Mark 41 instead of using the Mark 42. Leave the Mark 42 as a backup, as it's deployable, and use the Mark 41, because that's tried and tested. You want proven over new, and Tony should know that. So of course, because of this, he has to, like, throw his piano at one of the helicopters. I think he ends up sending himself at another one, but he ends up on the bottom of the ocean because of it. So it tries to seal, so it gives him a little bit of air. But of course, he's got he doesn't have propulsion, which is why he had trouble with the helicopters in the first place, because it's the Mark 42 draft suit, whatever. So Jarvis ends up giving him a hand, literally, by piloting a hand out, because the individual pieces still have propulsion that work underwater, mind you, so it's not air jets. Oh my god, I didn't think I would have such a problem with that. It's an insane mechanic to use for the suit. It just doesn't make any sense on any level now that I think about it, other than it is convenient. And I skipped over the part earlier where it attacked Pepper in her sleep. So, like, it's not even that good an idea on a 24-hour basis. So Jarvis manages to get him out of the water at the last possible second. Sure. And then Tony passes out because, it's actually completely human and understandable for him to pass out at that point. What doesn't make sense is that he would wake up in Tennessee. You would think, because this is from California, that somewhere once he hit the state line, that Jarvis would go, "I should land this bitch." It's so ridiculous. Let's see. But he breaks into somebody's home, and because it's Tony Stark, the kid loves it. So that's what you want to do. If you want to be able to break into people's home with very little consequence, be Bill Murray. That's the only real life example I could think of that like might actually happen, because Bill Murray does shit like that all the time, and like people like literally they don't believe it. He does it specifically because people won't believe it, and then people don't believe it. It's amazing. Like he just walks up to people and steals their French fries, and he'd be like, "Yeah, you should tell your friends that Bill Murray came over and stole some of your French fries." They're not gonna believe you. And then he bounces. Like he Bill Murray's places. The problem with that is that I'm afraid he's actually going to get into a situation like he did in Zombieland, where he ends up at the wrong time, wrong place, and somebody has a bad knee-jerk reaction to it and shoots him or something. Like, I could totally see Bill Murray, like, breaking in somebody's house, not doing anything, but, like, maybe he breaks the lock and replaces the door for him. It's like, you want a golden door? What do you want? And he's just eating, like, cookies and milk that he brought with him. He's like, I really liked your chair. I thought I'd sit here and watch some TV. I hope that's okay. Your DVR is just chock full of stuff. And I'm getting distracted. That's fine. So, of course, the kid's inquisitive. I don't know what his deal is, but he sees the vulnerability and he goes for it, and he freaks Tony out because Tony's still having anxiety over this. And I skipped the part where he was having like wings with Rhodey and like the kid from what was it? It's a Wonderful Life or Miracle on 34th Street, whatever one that was. The little kid like comes up and he's like, "How'd you make it out of the wormhole?" And he flips out. So this kid ends up doing pretty much the same thing to him. Except he makes him a sandwich at some point. So, of course, because, I guess, Tennessee, he goes to a bar. Like, in theory, he's looking for this lady to find information about the blasts that happened. There happens to be one nearby in the town or whatever. And apparently Mrs. Davis has information that is or is not relevant because her son had information. So she's supposed to be meeting with the AIM folks, and she meets with Tony by mistake. But the continuity bullshit that happens here, and I'm honestly thinking about sending this into Hollywood Babylon for a continuity fucking error. He's walking to the bar, and the AIM lady with scars on her face, which was not unattractive. I'm not saying scar up people to get them hotter. I'm saying she was attracted and the scars weren't hurting her look. But like, she bumps into him because she's leaving the bar. She's like going to her car for whatever reason. And he's going in, and then he goes and sits down with Mrs. Davis, who looks like she's been there a while. If we're being honest. Apparently, the lady isn't the one who called her, because then she would be expecting a lady to sit down. So apparently a guy called her and sent the lady, which must be the bald dude. So Tony sits down, I guess, pretending to be him. Has a chat with her about the stuff and information. Actually tells her that she's not waiting on him. And then she keeps talking. And then she acts surprised that, like, he's not the one that she's supposed to be talking to. This whole scene is just a bunch of crap. Because, like, right then it's like, that'd be me. And she grabs his hand and puts cuffs on him. Which is fun and all, but the sheriff happens to be there, because why wouldn't he? And she's like, Homeland Security, are we good here? No, of course we're not good. Like, it's the most sensible thing in any of these movies anyone's ever said. Be like, no. Like, there's a whole procedure to go through here, and you would know that if you were Homeland Security. But she starts glowing, and, like, a bar fight breaks out, and Tony runs, because that's the safest thing for everyone, is for him to get the fuck out of there. And if I remember correctly, Trent, he's got the folders at that point, or she does, but one of them throws them in the corner of some building so that they can get back to him later. I'm pretty sure it's him. Yeah, he takes him and throws him in the corner of the bar so he can get back to him later. And of course, he hightails it out of there so that the fire lady will chase him, and that building won't burn down. Tony's a futuristic thinker. I can buy that. So where are we at? Oh no, that's the end of that. That's okay. Yeah, so like I tend to shorten up fights, so like I lost my place there. So he runs out. Of course, he sees the glowing dude, and he runs away from that. And he ends up in like a donut shop, some kind of restaurant, because he lures him back to the kitchen where he manages to have a fight where he gets his handcuffs in front of him. He gets them to melt them without burning himself, which is highly impressive. Don't ever just blowtorch handcuffs off your wrists. Not a good idea. So he ends up rigging a microwave and some gas to blow her up. And I think maybe there's a chain reaction thing where he blows it up and then the explosion blows her up. Maybe. I don't know. It's not very clear in that like 10 seconds. But the bald dude ends up grabbing the kid who's lurking around because why not? And Tony reminds him that he's got the anti-bullying device, which I still can't figure out what it is. I know he says that it deters things, but I was expecting it to be like a screech whistle where it's just like burp and like blows like a lot of air really high pitch or something. But apparently it flashes, so I guess it's a flashbang, like, but you press it. But apparently it's strong enough to stop a dude who just melted the leg of a water tower. And decapacitate him for long enough for Tony to like rig his little fusion blaster thing, which is ridiculous. We are talking about Iron Man 3 if you did not catch it at the top of the show. So like, which that, and he throws it away too, so that's another continuity problem. So he takes the little repulsor thing, he throws it off because it's obviously burning his hand. It's meant to activate in the Iron Man suit. So to me, that means that he doesn't have that later when he goes to fix the suit. So it's I don't know. It's a problem to me. Maybe he went back for it after he got the files, but I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So of course, the kid helped him out. Whatever. So the kid's trying to get props. None given because Tony's a dick to kids. And oh man, and like he tries to play on his sympathies and everything. It's a beautiful moment of just showing how awful Tony is. And he's like, I'm cold. And he's like, oh, I know you are. I can tell because you're shivering. And he takes off and ditches the kid. To be fair, like, you at least take the kid and drop him off at home. Let's be honest. You're gonna make your kid walk home from the bar? I don't know, but maybe if they walk there, that was not a problem. And of course, if the kid got in the car with Tony, it would actually be more dangerous for him than to him just hightail it home. Let's see. Oh yeah, so we have the whole stupid thing with the Mandarin trying to prove something to the president. It's like, if the president calls this phone right now, I'll spare this man's life. And then he doesn't do it, because of course he doesn't do it. You don't call that. You treat it as if the man has already been killed, and you go in. Hostage situations are a nightmare to deal with, because you don't want to. You want to prevent the loss of life as much as possible. But if somebody already has that much control over someone else's life, you can't do much about it. What you can do is give the shooter something else to worry about. You go in full force. You try to worry about them keeping themselves alive, because honestly, that's where it's gonna matter. There's an old adage of shoot the hostage. It doesn't really work when like they're in a bank in a vault like a mile away. But like if I'm standing there with a gun to me, it's like, oh, one more step and I'll cap this dude. You shoot the hostage me as a distraction, because what's gonna happen? Unless you're good enough to put one here. But you maim the hostage, and then his leg goes out, and then that's something else to deal with. So you might drop the hostage, you might shoot the hostage, who knows? But that's like kind of an old adage thing. Where are we at? Oh yeah, so yeah, Tony ends up calling Rhodes up on the phone. Let's see. Oh yeah, he hijacks this dude's TV van to hack into AIM using Rhodey's password, and it was something about like Iron Man rocks with an X, which is one of these little moments that they put in there that makes the movie like actually likable. It shows that Tony's a real person, like to some degree, or at least that he pretends long enough to interact with people like Rhodes, who is a real person. He's like, I got to change my password every time you do this. And if you are used to your passwords, you know what I'm talking about. So let's see. And then like the fun thing is that he doesn't even have a suit. All his suit, like his home base, is all crapped out. He probably has Stark Towers at this point. Yeah, he does. So I don't know why there isn't anything there that he could call to. Maybe there's a remote to Jarvis there, and that's how we got the house party protocol up. And maybe that's what it has to do with it. So again, we are doing movie streaming right now. I need to catch up on things. There's gaming eventually, but given the events the past couple weeks, like I'm a little behind on things. So where are we at? Okay, so Tony decides to play Hitman in real life, sneaking into the AIM HQ, which is fun because he's got like this little Christmas bauble like bomb that no one would ever pick up in their right mind. If anyone ever throws a Christmas ornament towards you, don't touch it. Just don't. He's got this fun glove that's like got Christmas lights on it. That's a shocker. So he's got this ridiculous stuff, and of course he ends up getting like captured eventually. But he manages to interrogate Trevor, who Ben Kingsley got. He really like sold the Mandarin, and he sold Trevor. So like, you gotta give props to Ben there. Let's see here. But like Trevor's just such a bad character concept. It's a real mess to deal with. So eventually, bald guy shows up and knocks him out. We end up in the dungeon. Maya's giving us a bunch of exposition, like trying to get him on board, which is so just dumb. Eventually, Killian shows up, shows him Pepper, offers him a job, threatens him, and then Maya threatens to kill herself. Again, like, this is not a good plan. Don't threaten to kill yourself, because lo and behold, someone might do it for you. Because Killian's an unfeeling monster at this point. So of course Killian shoots her. Which, I'm sorry I'm laughing at this, but it's a ridiculous concept. Let's see. And then Tony ends up calling the suit because the stuff's in his arm, but like it's timed out. It's horribly timed, so it's this joke that goes on far too long. But he ends up taking out everybody with like a fist and a foot, which again, like I don't feel should run because they're not connected to the power source, and they just traveled half the continent. Well, maybe not half the continent, but far enough. So of course by this point too, Rhodes has managed to escape because he's been captured, and they try to burn him out of the suit. Like I forget his name. The guy who plays Killian ends up with this cool moment where he breathes fire, and then the worst thing is like the bald dude shows up and kind of pushes him, and like Rhodes falls out. It's ridiculous. And then somehow he gets away. It's all over the place. I don't think they planned out this set of scenes very well. But on the boat, he's called the vice president, and they try to warn him. But of course, the president has a daughter who's missing a leg, or piece of her leg, whatever you want to call it. So that is not the best of things. That means that he's in pocket. I thought it was a Hydra plot at first, and I was like, no, he's just on the take with AIM. Because AIM, while not an intelligence agency, can pull strings here or there. but they set him up for the presidency and claimed that they could heal his daughter, or she'll explode. One of the two. I don't know if you roll those dice or not. But the bald guy ends up flying the Iron Patriot suit all the way to the president, boarding Air Force One, even though he doesn't need to, without identifying himself, without speaking anything at all, which I think is a big problem with everything. It's like, hey, let me see your face. Okay, get on board. You'd think that's just like an unspoken thing, like that hero types would do, right? So the dude completely wrecks the plane, and he ends up parachuting out. The president ends up being put in the suit with it programmed back to Killian, which is odd that it can do that. So that means that that suit's been overridden for the second time in 3 movies. So really, Tony needs to look at the software that's still on that thing. As we're really close to Tony suits. Oh, jeez, Rooster, we need to brush you. Go back to your box. Tony's suit getting taken over. Like, I think by Iron Man 4, like, that might be the thing, is that he's lost control of his tech, and how is he gonna gain control back? Because fuck else is left at this point. Stupid Iron Man. So, oh yeah, okay. This part's so dumb. I don't want to talk about it. So, Tony goes and plays Battle of Monkeys with all the people falling out of the plane. That's a real plot point that they actually say in the script of the movie. And it's ridiculous, but in the course, like, as he dropped everybody off in the water safely, because somebody's legs would have broke, like, in some of that fall, he gets hit by a truck and the pieces go everywhere. Oh, behold, he's not inside it. But what is it? We activate the house party protocol. So now we go to the harbor. This is like the big battle scene. I swear to God, something happened in this big thing that where I really lost focus, and I had to catch back on my notes. So it looks like I did it. We're just going to go through it, because my favorite part of the movie is this Iron Legion of suits showing up to back up Rhodes and Tony. But the specificity of each of the suits was kind of bothersome. Because you would imagine that they would be mark, etc. in numerical order. But I don't think they were. Like, some of them were like a construction build, like it had jackhammers on it. Another one that was like very Egyptian looking. Like, I don't know. Like, who knows what they were actually for, if they were lateral marks or if they were continual marks. Like, we don't get that explanation. But Jarvis is able to pilot all of these by himself, or itself, if you will, and quite frankly, does a better job Iron Manning than Iron Man does. Jarvis is the superior superhero, which is maybe why he gets his own body later, arguably. Yeah, because this is still before Age of Ultron. So there's a couple key moments in here I'd like to point out. So Tony goes to save Pepper. She's trapped under there. Here's a bullshit moment for you. Killian reaches up through the floor to get at Tony. There's no way he knew that's where it was, unless he saw him from like above or to the side and then went, oh, you know what's cool? I'll go underneath, and then I'll climb up to the ceiling and I'll reach through the ceiling because I can stand with my head against the ceiling. And looking at the room that Pepper falls into later, what the fuck was happening there? Like, did he, like, heat up his hands and then, like, stick his fingers into the ceiling and do one of these numbers until he got underneath because he happened to measure just right until he could reach up through the ceiling and mess with Tony? I don't understand. I really don't. So, of course, Tony cuts off his arm. And that distracts him long enough for Pepper to fall through the floor. Rhodes managed to rescue the president by swinging on a bunch of cables and stuff, fighting these guys, and the suits help him out a little bit. I'm not sure what he does to get the president out of the suit, or where the fuck the president hides like while this is going on. It's crazy. It's crazy pants. So, oh god, what was it? Okay, so there's a beautiful moment where Tony drops Pepper, and it's almost Gwen Stacy dying. It's that close to being such a great moment. And I don't know if maybe it's the fact that Pepper survives, or that it just doesn't have the same drama of like just getting to somebody and still killing them, or like instead of letting them hit the ground and dying, like you kill them. That's the only thing I can think of that would make that a little bit closer. But he doesn't catch her, so he thinks she's dead, so he's mad. And I think he ends up throwing the Mark 42 on Killian and blowing it, and Killian still survives. That's how crazy powerful this bioengineered rejuvenation nonsense is. But you got people blowing up left and right just because they breathed funny. It's not like the early serum was the right one, the one that Killian took, so I don't know. So the other kind of bullshit moment in this is that after Killian survives the Mark 42 blowing up on top of him, Pepper joins the fight, and she acts like a roid rage ninja, just bouncing all over the place, swinging her fist, using her heat power, and like to the point where there's a suit targeting her, and she takes out the Iron Man suit. And nonsense that, like, because Tony's earpiece wasn't on, Jarvis didn't hear him. Jarvis heard him. So she wasn't in real danger. But still, the fact that she could punch through an Iron Man suit flying through the air like that, a little crazy. Because she's not trained in this. I don't know, like, how much mixed martial arts training she does with Happy on her off time, but it's nothing like that. And then she ends up, like, killing Killian somehow by punching through him. And she starts losing her mind. She's like, oh my god, what did I do? What did I do? No, I'll burn you. I'll burn you. And then, like, she kind of has a moment of, like, this was awesome. Like, I can see why you didn't want to give up the suits. I don't know why I'm pretending Gwyneth Paltrow is fat. She's probably, like, one of the most skinny actresses you can point to. And then he comforts her, and then for some reason, and people who have lots of money do stupid shit like this, he blows all the suits. Now, granted, he knows that he's never going to use those suits again. And all the designs are still on the computer, so he could reprint them whenever he wanted. Not that he would, because he's got his Mark 43 to work on. Even though he says that he's not going to anymore. He's not going to give up being Iron Man. So we managed to get this nice little Happy scene at the hospital with Happy. That's what I mean by Happy there. Like, watching, he's panicking, he's reaching for his thing, and it's Downton Abbey, and apparently it's some pivotal moment in the show that everyone who watches the show will recognize, but I don't have a clue because I don't watch that trash. Not that the show's trash, just the genre of show like that is trash. And it's fine. Eat your trash. Just nom 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 nom. The kid in Tennessee gets a nice Christmas via the Stark Foundation. And then here's the moment that bothers me most in the entire movie. I don't believe this. He walks up to his little beachside cliff, and I think he threw another reactor in there before, but he throws this reactor in there after he gets surgery. He does get surgery. He gets heart surgery, so he doesn't have the shrapnel in his chest anymore. He doesn't need a magnet to pull it away from his heart anymore. The suits can hold the power source on their own. Not that apparently they need it. But this one, the one that stopped poisoning him with palladium, or whatever it is, he had to create a new element for it. One that we don't have on the periodic table, at least. One that, in theory, no one has been able to synthesize. But he did. And then he throws it at the ocean. I don't understand that at all. It's not being a superhero. It's not being brave or smart or anything. It's all horrible that you would take this thing that doesn't exist on this planet and throw it into the ocean. Because maybe it hit the water and it was fine. But it probably hit a rock and broke. And that new element went out into the ocean and then combined with a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna see Namor finally come up from Atlantis and try to sue Tony for littering. And I don't know if you've seen Namor try to sue people, but he does it with his fists. That would be awesome, actually. That would make a great premise for a Namor movie, is that he threw it into the ocean, and it fucked something up, and made its way to Atlantis. And then Atlantis had to deal with it. So maybe you could make the Atlantis movie and then have the end being, Stark, I've come for you! I don't know how Namor speaks, but that sounds like something Namor would say. I'll be quite honest. He's like Aquaman, but if Aquaman was a dick. And that's just kind of what I have to say about that. Let's see. I've been ranting about this for quite some time now. Jeez. Oh, no, that's probably not the time. I've lost my recording time. Let's find out. I don't think I've been on here for an hour and a half talking about Iron Man 3. But I think I've said pretty much all I can say about that on my own. Not an Iron Man fan. Not looking forward to the next one. Not looking forward to him in Infinity War. I think that's the next thing. I am looking forward to Black Panther coming out so that we can throw that in here. We will do Incredible Hulk next week. Not the original movie. That's going to go to Bad Movie Club. Because quite frankly, I think it's that bad. I don't think it deserves to be here on We Are Movie Club. I have a problem with that. But I don't mind putting good movies on Bad Movie Club. Is that odd? So we're going to go through some... once Bad Movie Club finishes up with their cycle, they're going to go through some superhero movies there. So Daredevil and Blade and stuff is going to go there probably. They probably won't go here. We got other stuff to get to. But we are going to do Incredible Hulk before we end. We're probably going to do Spider-Man Homecoming. But after that, we're going to go back to just doing interesting movies. And I'm going to try to find some particular ones, and we may go through like a POV phase, like maybe Cloverfield Chronicle. I'll have to see what we've done in the past, because I think we've done both of those. I think so. I think Sid was in on that one. But until you see us next time, have a nice day from us here at #WeAreMovieClub. You want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations, and they'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching.